Welcome back, Giants fans. Today we're going to do a video answering the community page questions. I figured it'd be a good time during the slow part of the off season. So we have 8 questions, but I'll try and go in depth with all those. I don't know how long the video will be, but hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, it always helps out, and let's get into it. First question from Ben Lee. Assuming the offense is healthy all season long, what are your expectations on Daniel Jones? So first off with Daniel Jones, he's going to be better than he was the past 2 seasons. I don't see how it gets any worse. I really don't. Like, you just talk about going from Jason Garrett to a much better play caller, whether it is Mike Kafka, Brian Dable, or a combination of both, which is the most likely outcome. Right there, you have just much better play calling. Then you look at the guys they added to this team, hopefully getting a full season of Darius Staley, getting Wan'Dale Robinson, a tight end, and Daniel Bellinger that I like. So you're getting better weapons, hopefully a healthy Saquon Barkley. This team hopefully has their left tackle, right tackle spots figured out. Of course, they have to stay healthy. Evan Neal has to prove he can play in the NFL, which I think he will. But if Andrew Thomas plays a full season, you get Evan Neal playing well, then right there, your left tackle, right tackle spots will hopefully keep Daniel Jones upright. As for the interior offensive line, it's not as important when talking about pass blocking, but those guys just have to be decent. I have a lot of faith in Glowinski to be a good right guard. As for the center spot, left guard spot, that's a wait and see, but I think they'll figure it out. Left guard, I'm a bit more concerned about, but I do ultimately think they'll figure it out. Now, number-wise for Daniel Jones, I expect kind of his rookie season maybe a bit better. Now, he did have 18 fumbles in 12 starts as a rookie and lost 11 of them. You cannot have that. Like, Daniel Jones, if he puts up his rookie stats that he did back in 2019, but cuts the turnovers in half, I think you can live with that. That's not going to convince me that he's a franchise quarterback, but that will give the Giants a really good chance of winning football games, assuming the defense is decent this year, which they have been the past couple years. So hopefully we get that. I think Daniel Jones has been coached in a way the last couple years to really take the turnovers away. It's not a secret, but you also have to get those big plays back into his game like he had back in 2019 with Pat Shurmur. So you have to find a way to get to the 2019 Daniel Jones and the past 2 years of Daniel Jones and put the conservativeness of the last 2 years, but the aggressiveness of 2019 and put it all together. It's not an easy task to do in year 4. It's probably a lot for this coaching staff to do, a lot for Daniel Jones to really take in mentally, but that just, is just the situation we're in right now. It is what it is. So if I had to sit here and project a Daniel Jones stat line for next year, I would go like 3,600 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, which might be a bit low, but like I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible. 13 interceptions, so you would get a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. I'll take that. And a 62 completion percentage. But once again, this question goes back to what are your expectations if they all stay healthy? Like, that's the problem. The Giants never tend to stay healthy. We know with Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, we saw Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, all were hurts last year at certain points. So they have to be healthy. Will they all be healthy? Probably not. That's just the nature of sports, and especially being a Giants fan in particular. But if they can stay relatively healthy, I think Daniel Jones actually has a pretty decent year next year. Like, you guys know I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones believer, but just based on this situation compared to what he's had the past couple years, he should be closer to the rookie season Daniel Jones. Hopefully cut the turnovers in half, and that should be at least a pretty good season. Next from Shadow Boy, what do you think the impact of losing Bradbury and Peppers in the secondary will do to the defense? They were both proven starters who, in my opinion, were solid and had great games for us. Only way I see us doing well defensively is double-digit sacks for both Ojulari and Thibodeaux. So right off the bat, I think Bradbury's loss will be felt more than Jabril Peppers. Losing a cornerback one as compared to a strong safety in today's NFL as the stupid flies in my face. You guys probably can't even see it, so I look like a moron just like waving my hands around. Anyway, so I do think they'll feel the loss of Bradbury more as compared to Jabril Peppers. Peppers was more in the box. He made some plays, covering tight ends and things like that, but for the most part, James Bradbury in today's NFL, losing a cornerback one is going to hurt you more, especially in this defense with Don Martindale and how much he puts on his cornerbacks. So I do think they'll, regret losing Bradbury more, but they had to do it, as we know. But yeah, I think you're right with this question in a way. I mean, maybe not double-digit sacks. Maybe that's a bit too excessive, but we do have to have good seasons from Ojulari and Thibodeaux. Like, I don't really see a scenario where those guys kind of just are average or not good or injured, and the Giants still have a good defense. Like, unless Leonard Williams has like 20 sacks, which I'm not really expecting to happen. So some draft analysts thought that Kayvon was a bit raw, and yeah, there might be some truth to that. I think he has to work on some pass rushing moves, but I think he could be a good player right away. And as for Ojulari, hopefully he improves in year 2. But if those guys don't get better or are not ready for year 2, or, you know, let's say Ojulari is not ready for year 2 and Thibodeau is, you know, still raw in his first year, that's going to be a problem. Like, the Giants have to get to the quarterback this year, you know, obviously, but especially when you lose your cornerback one, you're going to feel that way more. So the key to the Giants defense, in my opinion, though, is Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson has shown in the past with the Titans, I think in his rookie year and his second year, that he can play like a cornerback one. He showed it at some points last year as well before he got hurt, but you know, with Adoree, it's tough to bank on him staying healthy for an entire season. Last year, he missed a couple games, I believe, but going back to his Titans days, he had 2019 and 2020. Those were rough injury years for Adoree Jackson, so he has to be on the football field first and foremost. But if you told me right now Adoree Jackson's going to play at a cornerback one level and stay healthy for the whole season, I would have a lot more faith in this Giants defense. So I think a lot of it comes down to him. Obviously, Aaron Robinson, who right now is slated to be the cornerback 2, he's very important as well. He's a guy who was not healthy the first half of last year. He has to be healthy and play well for the entire season. And as for Jabril Peppers, you're going to have guys like Julian Love and Dane Belton, the 4th-round rookie out of Iowa, to kind of fill in that role. And I think Dane Belton eventually can fill in that role. I don't know if he'll do it right away. Like, I don't expect Dane Belton to play 85% of snaps in week 1, but I do think I could see a scenario where he's starting by the end of the year in that Jabril Peppers role. So we'll see what happens there, but I do think the Giants will feel the Bradbury loss more. You're putting a lot on the plate of Adoree Jackson, a lot of pressure on him, and even Aaron Robinson to step up. So the Giants right now, I don't feel great about their cornerback position, but if Aaron Robinson and Adoree Jackson stay healthy, hopefully they'll be fine. Next, from Clutch Craziness, this is a fun question. Which receiver do you think will lead the Giants in touchdowns this season? So I did not look at like the betting markets or anything like that, but I would assume that Kenny Golladay is the favorite. But I'm going to go with Kadarius Toney, and I don't really know if Toney's going to be healthy the entire year. I feel like with Toney, you always see red flags of like, oh, he's absent from practice, and oh, his shoe fell off, and oh, like it's just, you know, everything with him. But assuming Toney stays on the field, I do think he'll put up good numbers this year. I think he is very talented. I would say Golladay, but like Daniel Jones has not shown that touch in the red zone that I think a guy like Golladay needs. Like, I think with Daniel Jones, he's not the type of guy that's going to whip it in there, but he also has not shown the touch to like really lob it over defenders in like the end zone or even throw a great fade route has been a problem for Daniel Jones. But a guy like Matthew Stafford, like he was good at that stuff, especially like throwing lasers on slant passes and stuff. So, you know, I always thought Stafford was a great quarterback for Golladay. So I don't really know if Kenny Golladay is going to lead the Giants in touchdowns this year. I think he has the best percentage chance right now because of the position he plays, X receiver, being 6'4", 6'5", and being their wide receiver 1. But I don't know if like that's the right quarterback wide receiver combination. Like, I feel like Daniel Jones does his damage on the big plays, and Kadarius Toney should be a big play guy, obviously, for the Giants this year. Now, if Daniel Jones does a complete 180 in the red zone and like completely turns his career around there, then hey, I mean, Golladay could absolutely lead this team in touchdowns. But Daniel Jones had a 38 completion percentage in the red zone, and that has to improve by a lot. Like, if he does not improve in that area, the Giants are once again going to be a bad red zone offense. Like, Daniel Jones has to get a lot better with that completion percentage. Not to say it's all his fault. I'm sure Jason Garrett running his 5-yard curls in the end zone was not going to help in most cases. So hopefully with an improved offensive coordinator, Daniel Jones has an improved red zone efficiency. So I say Toney because he does rely on the big plays. Now, my sleeper pick would be Ricky Seals-Jones. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is a guy who probably 6'5", 6'6", can go up and get it. Daniel Jones has shown the ability to throw to tight ends in the red zone. I mean, we saw some Caden Smith touchdowns. We have seen some Evan Engram, who I think may have led the Giants in touchdowns last year. I forget. I think he may have. I don't know. But yeah, so I think Ricky Seals-Jones is a decent sleeper pick, but I just expect a guy who is going to make big plays to lead this team in touchdowns. I was actually going back the last couple of years and looking at the Giants touchdown leaders, and it was sad. Like, you're expecting, like, we're used to as a fan base seeing like Odell Beckham with 12 or Hakeem Nicks with 11 or, you know, Plaxico Burress in the double digits, and then we see like the last few years it's been like, oh, Golden Tate leads the Giants with 3, and oh, Sterling Shepard leads the Giants with 3, oh, Evan Engram has 4. It's like, oh my god, this is terrible. So hopefully this year the Giants have actually a respectable amount for you know, leading the team in receiving touchdowns, because I'll tell you what, if the Giants touchdown receiving leader only has like 4 in 2022, probably not going to be a good offensive year. So the Giants have to find somebody to at least put up a number of, like, I don't know, 6. Can I ask for 6 touchdowns from somebody this year? Like, come on. So hopefully that happens, but I'm going to go with Kadarius Toney as my pick. Next, from Nate DeGreat722, what can we realistically expect from Saquon Barkley this year? All right, so for Saquon, I would love to sit here and be like, oh, he's going to have, you know, 2,200 scrimmage yards, but you did say realistically, so I'll try to be as realistic as possible. I'm not expecting 2018 Saquon Barkley ever again. That's just the truth. I mean, I said the same thing watching James Harden last year. I was like, we're not going to see the Rockets version of James Harden ever again, and obviously that was not the case. So with Saquon Barkley, though, I don't think 2018 is happening again. He's now 25, so, you know, coming off some big injuries. I mean, last year, of course, another injury with the ankle, ACL in 2020, had another ankle, I believe, in 2019. So it's been unfortunate, but I do think Barkley is still a top 10 running back in the NFL when healthy, and this regime is going to line him up as a receiver. We've heard about that in practice. They'll give him the ball in space this year, so I do like that, of course. Like, we saw Saquon on some screen passes do some special things out in space. Like, I always go back to that Eagles game in 2018, his rookie year. Thursday night game, home game, the Giants got obliterated in that game, but there was that awesome Saquon Barkley screen pass where he like just basically zigzagged through the entire defense and picked up like 70 yards and almost scored a touchdown. So I go back to that play. So if they give the ball to Saquon in space, I'm going to like the results. But there were so many times last year, I think I saw a stat where Saquon was hit behind the line of scrimmage or something like that. So the offensive line has to be better. But, you know, I can't give Saquon a full pass because we've seen guys like Wayne Gallman, Alfred Morris, and Devontae Booker outperformed Saquon Barkley while being on the same roster. So that's not a good look for Saquon Barkley, obviously. So I guess my realistic expectations, I feel like I'm a fantasy football guy now, but I would predict like 1,100 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, and like 500 receiving yards. Like, that's a good season. That's 1,600 scrimmage yards over that. So, you know, like that's fine. Like, you're not going to get second overall production, I feel like, unfortunately. Those days are probably over. I mean, Saquon, of course, could shock us all. I guess I wouldn't really bet against him, but I don't know. It's just a lot to expect now. But if he gets hurt, though, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we've seen it now, so, you know, fool me once, fool me twice. We've seen it 3 times in a row now, so that would be not good. But I guess the good news for the Giants is they're not really committed to Saquon long term. Like, this seems like it's a 1-year thing for Saquon, and whether he has a great year or a bad year, I don't know if he'll be a Giant next year. So that's pretty much how it's going to be. I don't really see Joe Schoen and the way he thinks as a GM being the type of guy to break the bank for a running back. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, we know what athletes do in contract years. They put up some of their best numbers, and Saquon is in a contract year on that 5th-year rookie option. So hey, maybe it is a 2,000-yard season. I don't know. But the Giants, first and foremost, need a healthy Saquon, better run blocking. And Saquon, just honestly, like we all say this as Giants fans. You can be a big Saquon truther, a person who really wanted him second overall, or a person like myself that felt they should have went a different direction. But I think we all can agree as Giants fans that Saquon Barkley has to get more consistent with picking up the 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. Like, Saquon is just such a boomer bust type of running back. Like, he has so many negative run plays, or it feels like he breaks off a 50-yard run. So Saquon has to find that consistency. Like, I remember watching Arian Foster. I know this was back with Gary Kubiak, who's a great play caller, great for running backs, and, you know, they had a better offensive line in Houston, obviously. But still, watching Arian Foster back in his prime, like, he would consistently pick up 3, 4 yards every single time. Even when it was like a play was going nowhere, he always found a way to get positive yards. And you see a guy like Saquon now with this Giants situation, it's like there's too many negative plays. You should not run the the ball on 1st and 10 and have it be 2nd and 13 after that. Like, that's not the goal of a running play. So they have to be more consistent. Saquon, of course, is first and foremost with that. The offensive line as well. But I do think this offense and the new play caller will put him in a better position. It just depends if Saquon can stay healthy. Next from Dave Campbell, which tight end, I love the way you word this question, by the way, which tight end do you think becomes tight end 1 by week 1, and why is it Daniel Bellinger? I love the way you word that, because honestly, I don't disagree. Like, no offense to Jordan Akins or Ricky Seals-Jones, who I mentioned before, but like, Daniel Bellinger, I think, is a better player than those guys. Like, maybe as Giants fans, we're kind of overestimating our rookie class like every other fan base does, and maybe we think Daniel Bellinger is way too good right now, but I don't know. Based on the reports we've seen in camp so far, it seems like Daniel Bellinger is like checking every box, and I think he's running with the ones at some points as well, so it's trending in the right direction. And the guys he has to beat on the depth chart are not that great. Like Jordan Akins and Ricky Seals-Jones, those are like journeyman type guys, and guys that are not really going to be anything great, I don't think. So if you're Daniel Bellinger, this is a guy who I think has every opportunity to be the tight end 1 by week 1. Bellinger has that size, he's sure-handed, he's already a pretty good blocker for the most part. And I think with Brian Daboll, like, he kind of wanted a guy like Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, of course, is the Bills tight end. He's had a really good last couple of years, and I think Bellinger's like a similar build, similar athlete. So that's a guy I think is going to get a lot of run in this offense. So I do think the Giants will definitely use all 3 tight ends. I don't think Bellinger will play 100% of the time, but I would not be shocked at all if after week 1 we go back and look at the snap count and it's like Daniel Bellinger's 64%, and then you have like the other 2 guys at like, I don't know, 34%, one of them's 20%. You know what I mean? Like, I could see a world where Daniel Bellinger is the tight end 1 for the Giants right away. It would not surprise me. And I think with a good preseason, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. But hopefully he stays healthy. But Daniel Bellinger is definitely one of those guys that I am most excited for as a Giants fan to watch with this rookie class. Obviously, Evan Neal is one of those guys, and Kayvon Thibodeau. But like, I think maybe number 3 for me is Daniel Bellinger. Nah, maybe number 4, because I forgot Wan'Dale Robinson. But he's up there. Daniel Bellinger is definitely one of the guys I'm excited to watch in his rookie season. Next from Mike Clark. What are your thoughts on Darius Slayton getting second-team reps with guys like Richie James and David Sills getting first-team reps? I mean, honestly, it's not a surprise. I gotta be honest. Like, I was never really like the biggest Darius Slayton guy. Like, he, I guess, surprised all of us for a 5th-round pick. But I remember after that Steelers game in week 1 of 2020, there was this whole like Darius Slayton for wide receiver 1 movement going on, and like, I just couldn't get behind it. Like, I think Darius is fine as a wide receiver 3 or 4, but to put him as like one of your first 2 guys is not where I want to be with a wide receiving core, to be honest. And I think right now, looking at the Giants receiving core, like, you have Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, and Wan'Dale Robinson just automatically ahead of him. Now, whether you want to put Sterling Shepard 4 or put Slayton 4, that's, you know, a toss-up for me. I guess a healthy Shepard is better than Slayton, obviously. So if Shepard's looking good, I think Slayton might be the wide receiver 5. But you know, this is a regime that did not draft Darius Slayton. He was a 5th-round pick. He's not a tremendous athlete. I guess he's pretty fast in a straight line, but there's too many limitations to Darius Slayton's game. I mean, the hands, obviously, too many bad drops. He doesn't really catch the ball well in contact. He doesn't do that much after the catch, so I don't know, he's not the best route runner, so I just think there's too many limitations to Slayton's game. I'm not sure what they expect from David Sills or Richie James, but here's the thing. Richie James was more of a return guy with the Niners, and David Sills, as we know, has not gotten much of an opportunity in the NFL. I think Sills may have had a drop last year. I'm trying to remember, but he really didn't have that much playing time. So with guys like those who are unproven guys and have not had the snap counts that Darius Slayton has, like Darius Slayton's had seasons where he's, I think, seen, you know, he's gotten 700 plus receiving yards as a rookie. He played a lot in his second year as well. So there's a lot of tape out there on Darius Slayton. Like, I think the Giants coaching staff and even Joe Shane, the front office, they know what Darius Slayton is right now. So what they don't know is what David Sills is going to be, or Richie James. These guys are more unproven, so you want to just turn over every rock, every stone, whatever the, you know, term is, and just see what you have. So I think I'm not taking too much into this, but yeah, like, it would not shock me at all if Slayton's cut. Like, I would actually kind of be surprised if he made the team. Maybe that's stupid to say, I don't know, but I just don't think he's like a sure thing to make this roster. Like, I could see this team going in the direction of Richie James because they like his returning ability. Maybe they like David Sills. I don't know, but I would just say Darius Slayton being with the second team was really not too much of a surprise. Next from, I am definitely going to butcher this name, Josu Buenrostro. I think I nailed it. Of course, we all hope that Daniel Jones is the guy, so we aren't pressured to pick a quarterback first next year and spend the first round pick elsewhere. And saying so, if Daniel Jones plays his mind off and the coaching staff pays him and sees he is good, not saying he's the SHIT, but if he is, where do you think they'll prioritize if he does play out of his mind? So basically, I think the question is, like, if Daniel Jones has a really good season next year, what positions would the Giants look to draft highly next year? I think is what we're getting at here. So if I can get into the mind of Joe Schoen, I think he has the positional value thing going on in his mind, which I like a lot, obviously. So talking about before with this team, what do they need? Cornerback depth. I think with this team, like, there was a chance that they could have taken Sauce Gardner, but he went to the Jets at 4. But I don't think the Giants would have went in that direction anyway. I think they wanted to go with, offensive tackle, obviously. Maybe they would have went Sauce if he fell to like 7. I don't know. But anyway, cornerback definitely has to be like number 1 for me. I would say wide receiver should be on there because you're looking at a situation where Kenny Golladay, if let's say he has another injury-riddled season this year or he's just not that good, you can move on from Kenny Golladay and save about $7 million next year. His dead cap hit was still like, I think, $14 million, so I don't think they want to go that route, but if they had to cut Kenny Golladay, they can do that, but you can never have too many wide receivers. I think Joe Schoen feels the same way, so I think corner wide receivers like the first 2. And then edge. I think edge is another possibility. Like, you can never have too many guys that can get to the quarterback. Let's say, I guess in a perfect world, you would hope that Kayvon and Ojulari are studs, which I hope is the case. But Ojulari was a guy from the previous regime. If he takes a step back in year 2, which I guess could happen, then, hey, that opens up the door for a potential edge guy to be taken in the first round. Last question from Nikki. Over under 5.5 sacks for Leo. So Leonard Williams, over under 5.5 sacks for this year. So the last 2 years with the Giants, he has gone over that. Of course, in that 2019 season between the Jets and Giants, only had 0.5 sacks the entire year, so that would have been under. So Leo has been under that number 4 times in his career, and he hit the over 3 times. So he's been under more than over, but still, I think Leo is going to get it. You look at his last 2 years with the Giants, 11.5 sacks, followed up by 6.5 sacks. So, I mean, look, last year wasn't the best season from Leo. I think he was definitely better in 2020, but he's not all about getting sacks. We know that. Leonard Williams is more of a pressures guy, a quarterback hits type of guy. Being as big as he is, it's tough to get sacks and have the agility that a guy like a Khalil Mack has or someone like that, a TJ Watt, but he does get his pressures, and I do think playing next to Dexter Lawrence and next to now an improved Azeez Ojulari, hopefully, next to Kayvon Thibodeau, it will take some of the attention off of Leonard Williams, and I do think he'll get to that 5.5 sack number. I expect somewhere from like 6 to 7 sacks, somewhere in that range, so I will pick the over, and I do think playing next to better teammates will help him. The Giants secondary is the scary part. They have to do their job, because if they can't cover for an extended period of time, that's going to be an issue, but we know Don Martindale wants to be aggressive, and, he's done it the past couple years here, Leo, so I will pick the over, and I think making the amount of money he does this year, he better get the over, that's for sure. So, anyway, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll do another questions video at some point before the season starts. Not sure when my next Giants video will be. If you have a Giants content idea, let me know in the comments. I definitely don't have the time I used to, but at some point I will make a Giants video before the year starts, obviously. So we'll get to that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like. It always helps out. And I'll talk to you guys next time.